Good morning. I appreciated the worship time, and Robbie, I appreciated your communion meditation. You don't always think about the fall being the result of a meal in one sense. The taking of the fruit, and their eyes were open to what? Their shame and their nakedness. Luke 24. It's possible that the two on the road to Emmaus was a husband and wife, Cleopas and his wife, and they're visited by the resurrected Jesus, who they don't recognize, until a meal. And in Luke 24, starting in verse 30, it says, "When he had reclined at the table with them, he took the bread and blessed it, and breaking it, he began giving it to them. All right, then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and then he vanished from their sight." Very different meals with very different results, but man, Lord, may our eyes be ever more opened so that we may recognize you. And I think that's a key aspect of our communion together. We'd like to open up the mic for a few moments for church members. If you've had a word stirring or a scripture that's been meaningful or an encouragement that may be for the body, why don't you not be shy and come up and share that if the Lord's leading you to do so.
I'm studying the Sermon on the Mount in my other precepts group. We're about 2 verses further than we were 2 weeks ago. But this is about another meal. It's those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. So that is food for us, to hunger and thirst for righteousness.
I was driving home. We lived on top of a hill, and there was a long hill going up to our house, and I've always not wanted to litter, and there was a scrap of paper on the road as I was driving up the hill, and I got out of my truck or car and picked it up and looked at it, and it was my son's report card. And I was just thinking, when I I took that report card, and I don't remember if I shook it at him and said, "This is yours." No, I don't think so. I hope not, but just thinking that when I stand before God, and I tried to throw away my report card, and he found it, and he put it under the blood.
Thinking this morning that any number of us are walking in with different sorts of baggage, and maybe some of it's that I didn't do so well this week on my, if I had my report card that I had to hand in, maybe I didn't do so well this week, and it's like, well, maybe not. But who are we coming to? What is a good father going to do with our stuff? As though, number one, as though he doesn't know and hasn't already forgiven and worked for those things. But I think it's encouraging to know that we can come knowing that we have a loving Father who's going to love us through these things. And the other side of that is, if you probably re-looked at that report card, it might not have your grades all over it. It might have somebody else's, and there's a passing grade on that was given to us. So, Larry, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
Jeremiah, starting at verse 10:29. This is what the Lord says: when 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my gracious promise to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will find you by you, declares the Lord. So when I think about the plans for my future, I know that my plans are in God's hands. So thank you.
All right, as Brian Bailey would say, last call. Is anybody? We don't want to miss anything the Lord's got to share. Okay. Let me highlight a couple of things. I hope you're grabbing bulletins. When you come in, there's a lot of good information on there. I'm going to highlight a couple of things that are upcoming and important. We'll have some sign-ups, again, for various things on our table during the break. So if you haven't signed up for things like the talent show or different meals and some opportunities that you see on the bulletin, make sure that if you're interested that you come up and get plugged in with that. I think the biggest thing that we need to highlight today is the marriage course, which takes up the right side of the bulletin. There's been a lot of feedback and a lot of sign-ups for that, so space is filling up quickly. So if you have not signed up or you haven't confirmed with Lisa that you're going to be a part of that, please do so, because space may end up becoming an issue. Based on the feedback from the first wave of feedback, the marriage course will take place on Sundays. All right, that was the day that seemed to work best for people. So there will be 7 sessions beginning March 8th through April 26th. Obviously, we will skip Easter Sunday for that course. Doors open at 5:15, and you can see the schedule there on your bulletin. So please, if you have not signed up, please do so. And Derek, do you have the trailer for that? Why don't we go ahead and show the trailer? Last week we saw a little bit about what to expect with the course, but here's a video of the actual trailer for what we're getting into.
People take driving lessons to learn how to drive. They spend years studying how to become a doctor. They take months training to run a marathon. But many people go into marriage with absolutely no preparation or training at all. Many years ago, a government minister said to Nikki and me, "We know that a strong society is built on strong families, and strong families are built on strong marriages." That's why we're interested in the marriage and pre-marriage courses.
Today, we face a crisis in the breakdown of marriage and family life, a crisis that's being felt in almost every country around the world. In some countries like our own, marriage rates have fallen to record lows, with many couples choosing to cohabit rather than to marry.
But these cohabiting relationships are proving to be much more fragile than marriage.
This huge need is also a huge opportunity. The marriage and pre-marriage courses offer practical tools for couples wanting to prepare for and build a strong marriage. The courses are based on a Christian biblical understanding of love. That love is not just about our feelings, but about action, making sacrifices for the sake of someone else, controlling our anger, being quick to listen, not burying hurt, but talking to our partner about it, owning our faults and forgiving each other.
It's often the church is just reactive to problems, whereas we should be proactive and help people anticipate the issues. And that's what we found by doing the marriage course. It addressed so many of the issues that could have been an issue, could have been a problem, and gave us practical tools that have really helped us in our marriage. And that's why we recommend to everybody who comes to our church that they do the marriage course. And if they're thinking of getting married, we recommend they do the pre-marriage course.
These courses are very practical and are applicable to all couples, whether or not they have a Christian faith or indeed any religious faith at all. And hundreds of thousands of couples have experienced a transformation in their relationship as they put these principles for showing love into practice.
The great thing about the marriage course is that it's a way for the local church to actually serve the people in the community, regardless if they have a faith background or not, because it's an opportunity to connect with people and to love them and to serve them. And when people who are outside the church experience being loved and served by people inside the church, that's when they ask us the reason for our hope. And if a church is well organized, then they can say something like, hey, we do this thing called Alpha, come and see.
As local churches reach out to their community, the word gets out about the benefits of investing in a marriage. Gradually, the culture changes, and it becomes increasingly normal for couples to invest in their relationship by coming on a course.
The other training videos will show you how easy this is, and how, when couples in your church get involved in reaching out to others through hosting a course or becoming a support couple, they strengthen their own relationship in the process.
And you start to build a culture of strong marriages, the benefits of which go out and out in wider and wider circles to children, your church, the wider community around you, and ultimately society itself.
If you weren't here last week or you haven't heard the message that John shared, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that, because he explains a lot more of the logistics and the details about that course. I guess one thing to note about it, just as a way of encouragement if you weren't here, the way it's set up is not as a big group discussion. We're going to have tables where couples will have their own kind of private time conversations, and it stays there with the couples, and the videos will help facilitate some of the good discussions, and I think it's going to be very helpful. So again, please make that a point to sign up for that today. Also, there's a mission meal next Saturday. If you need more details or information, you can see Gabby Erga, but that's also going to be available on the sign-ups. And the last thing I wanted to highlight was on the back side under the mission opportunities, you'll see that Love Inc. Has some information there. It's the annual Unifying Through Faith gathering. Transform the Community, Be Inspired, February 28th, 29th at Church on the Hill, and it's featuring a speaker named Lonnie Riley. Some of you may have seen a video of Ronnie Riley that came out of some revival in Kentucky. There's a small town in Kentucky. If you've seen those videos, I would encourage you, if you're able to get over there. I think that'll be very worthwhile. So I think those are our announcements. Again, be reading the rest of this. Yes? Okay, yeah.
If anyone's interested in the first, second, and third John, I think Gabby's leading it, but we really need to order our books as soon as possible so we can get right on that, so we're done by summer. So if you're interested in that, it'll be Wednesday nights. We just need to know who's going to be in the class. If you'll let Gabby or I know, that would be great. Either today or by next week, or you can call us or email us.
Okay. The precepts, and you guys are going to do those on Wednesday nights,
Yeah.
6:30. Okay. All right. Before we take a break, are there any first-time visitors? We'd like to welcome you if you're here for the first time, or if you brought a friend or family member. Anybody here for the first time? All right. Why don't you go ahead and introduce her to us? They just went through this too, so.
We've been, 3 weeks
Yeah.
now that we've been coming.
All right. Sierra, welcome. It's good to see you. Anybody else? All right. Well, we're a little early today, but I don't know what else to force, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So, children, you guys may be dismissed for Sunday school. We'll take about a 15 or 20-minute break and then come back for the teaching.